Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously powerful narrative. It's an epic tale of emotional transformation, looking at the life of Genghis Khan. But we're going to imagine him as a golden-furred boy born into the harsh, frozen steppe. We're talking about someone who survives utter abandonment to become a force that literally reshapes the globe. It's a story of a devastating early life that, against all odds, gives birth to an immortal legacy. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's look at how we've broken this down. We're going to journey through 5 emotional chapters today: isolation and abandonment, submission and defiance, loyalty and betrayal, annihilation, and finally, order and melancholy.
Let's kick things off with Chapter 1, Isolation and Abandonment. So before we even meet our main character, I want you to picture the absolute dread of the frozen Mongolian steppe at dusk. It just stretches on endlessly under this cold indigo sky. And inside a single isolated tent, we witness a truly heartbreaking moment. The elder warrior Yasuge has been poisoned. Catching him as he falls is a young, golden-furred kitten, Temujin, and you can just see his face completely crumbling in grief. The candlelight is flickering against them. It's this moment of pure, devastating loss, a warm, amber grief totally surrounded by the encroaching, cold dark of the outside world. And, that single moment of loss triggers a terrifying sequence of absolute vulnerability. With his father gone, the Council of Elders basically just mount their horses and ride away into the snow. They completely abandon the mother and her children without even a backward glance. And if that wasn't enough, then comes the final blow. Brutal Taichu dog raiders storm the camp in a chaotic flurry of dust and snow. Young Temujin is violently seized while his mother screams helplessly. He's taken, just like that.
Which brings us to the incredibly dark Chapter 2, Submission and Defiance.
This era marks the absolute lowest point of his life. Physically, he's trapped. He's in this oppressive, ice-blue environment, just a teenager, locked in a humiliating, heavy wooden yoke, forced to haul water with bleeding paws. But here's what you really need to notice: his internal state. Even kneeling right there in the freezing snow, his amber eyes are burning with this cold, controlled fury. His body is breaking down, sure, but his will? It is entirely unbroken.
And that unbroken will leads to a visceral, almost explosive transformation. Right in the center of a frozen river, he literally shatters that thick wooden yoke across his own knee. It's an unbelievable moment of sheer survival and freedom. But the reality is incredibly harsh. He is completely, totally alone. He survives by building these solitary little fires out in the white emptiness. He's starving, yeah, but he's driven by an absolute terrifying resolve to rely on absolutely no one but himself.
But, as you can guess, mere survival isn't quite enough to build an empire. Let's move on to Chapter 3, Loyalty and Betrayal. So, emerging out of that wilderness, he realizes he needs allies, and he starts forming absolutely crucial connections. First, he connects with the elegant, white-furred Bertay. Their eyes lock with this quiet, undeniable promise. And then, perhaps most importantly, he swears a blood oath with Jamuka, a sleek, black-furred warrior. They literally press their cut palms together over a glowing fire. Now, in steppe culture, you have to understand, a blood oath like this was considered way stronger than biological family. It was an intense brotherhood forged in the shadows, an alliance that felt like it would last forever.
Let's track the emotional milestones of this era, because things move fast. The loyalty forged by that intense blood oath, it's immediately put to the test. Merkit raiders attack at dawn and actually kidnap Bertay. This catastrophe right here is what ignites a brutal, sweeping war. Temujin forms his very first army and pulls off this massive dynamic night raid to rescue Bertay. But the sheer ambition and the growing scale of this war inevitably start to fracture his bond with Jamuka. The Blood Brotherhood breaks down, leading to a truly tragic confrontation that ultimately paves the exact way for Temujin to be proclaimed the Golden Khan.
The climax of this chapter is just devastating. 2 former brothers facing off in a stark, open-field execution. Jamuka is standing there in chains, weighed down by incredibly heavy guilt. But Temujin, he is statue still. There's literally no hatred in his eyes, just the cold, hard finality of someone paying a blood debt. It really shows us the ultimate cost of his ambition. Becoming a world conqueror meant sacrificing his absolute deepest friendship.
With that ghost laid to rest, we accelerate right into Chapter 4, Annihilation.
Now, what's really interesting about this next phase is the sheer dread this war machine conveys. The outcast is crowned,
And suddenly the open steppe is filled with armored dog cavalry, 10 rows deep, stretching literally all the way to the horizon. Led by massive generals like Subutai and Jebe, this army kicks up dust walls that look like breaking waves. The earth itself seems to crack beneath 10,000 hooves, all under snapping red war banners. I mean, it is the thunder of absolute inevitability.
And the results of this massive machine, they are completely catastrophic for the old world. Ancient dynasties fall, and they fall fast. The Shisha fortress walls crumble, with the emperor actually kneeling in the dust as his entire wealth is consumed by iron and smoke. And then, imagine this, an epic breach of the Great Wall of China in the dead of night. Massive chunks of ancient stone tumbling outward as cavalry just pours through the gap. The Jin dynasty emperor is forced to flee his burning palace. This is the exact moment the entire world is aggressively rewritten by fire and iron.
So, the destruction is absolute. His revenge against a harsh, unforgiving world is 100% complete. But what happens when the fires of war finally burn out? What is actually left when the dust of annihilation settles across the continent?
We find that surprising answer in our final chapter, Chapter 5, Order and Melancholy. This is where we see his true legacy, and it's in such stark contrast to the frozen, chaotic hardships of his early life. Imagine this. Inside a quiet, candlelit tent, an aged, deeply scarred Khan dictates the Yasa law to a row of scholars. It mandates peace across a staggeringly vast empire and actively protects the major trade routes. But here is the massive emotional payoff. The boy who was forced into a heavy wooden yoke, who is freezing and starving in literal chains, he deliberately dictates a law that explicitly outlaws slavery in his lands. It's a profound sense of justice, born directly out of his own incredible suffering.
And because of this law, the world totally transforms. Think of it as one of history's first massive free trade zones. We see a warm, wonderfully vibrant Silk Road. Long caravans of merchants and stylized camels are moving safely through mountain passes under these clear, sky-blue heavens. And those Mongol soldiers riding alongside them? They're no longer terrifying conquerors kicking up waves of dust. They're escorts, protectors. It's a living, deeply connected world, painted in terracotta and gold. It's the profound gift hidden deeply inside all that brutal conquest.
Which brings us to our final, somewhat melancholic image. An aged Genghis Khan, his golden fur now streaked with gray, standing completely alone on a rocky ridge at sunset. A long scroll of his law unfurls in the wind, trailing all the way down toward an endless empire of trade roads, cities, and plains. His eyes are closed. He's done. It is a powerful image of completion, capturing his solitary immortality and the immense, heavy weight of a destiny totally fulfilled.
And so, we are left with a massive question to ponder. If a boy born into the frozen, unforgiving steppe, locked in chains and left for dead, can rise up to completely rewrite the world, does true power really come from the thunder of the sword? Or does it actually come from the laws, the safety, and the order left behind when that sword is finally sheathed? Take a moment to really think about that legacy. Thank you so much for exploring this epic journey with me today.